Yes, guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to more GBFC. Saturday mornings, I'm going to make this show or this video that you guys will get every Saturday here on more GBFC. It's going to be laid back. It's going to be relaxed. There's not going to be too much editing in this one. It's just going to be me sitting here having a little preview, basically as if we've got the UK papers, which the majority of them are full of shit. So even if you are in the UK, I wouldn't buy them. It's all political bollocks these days anyway. But we're going to go through these fixtures right here. This is the Premier League games that are happening today. And of course, the big one this weekend is Chelsea-Arsenal on Sunday. But the big one is Liverpool and Newcastle. Carabao Cup final. Newcastle knocked Chelsea out the tournament. Newcastle are desperate for a trophy, and Liverpool looking for their first trophy under new manager Arne Slot. But without any further ado, let's begin by going through some of these Premier League games. Everton, West Ham, Ipswich Forest, Man City, Brighton. That is a big one. Southampton, Wolves, and Bournemouth versus Brentford. Little caveat before we go through these. I don't know how many of you are the same age as me. I'm 30 years old, grew up in the UK. Gillette Soccer Saturday, right? On a Saturday afternoon from about 12:30 till about 5 o'clock was literally my childhood every single Saturday. I didn't want to go out and play with my mates. I didn't want to do anything other than sit in listening to Jeff Stelling. If you were the same as me, let me know in the comments down below. But as football has progressed and there's become more money in the sport and more matches are there on TV, only seeing 4 matches on a Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m, it's kind of sad. I'm not going to lie. Just a little side story there. I'd love to know if you guys grew up watching the same thing as me. But Everton versus West Ham. Let's talk a little bit about this one because this is the kind of match where at this point in the season, this is about who's going to finish ahead of who's going to have the better or the worse of a season. Everton have been pretty resurgent under David Moyes. It's been huge for them. They're going to stay up as a result of David Moyes coming in. Sean Dyche is a manager that you expect to keep you in the Premier League. But if he'd have stayed at Everton, he might have sent them down. So David Moyes being back in is big. And it's against his former club, West Ham, where Graham Potter has come in. And it's not necessarily been plain sailing. The defeat against Newcastle at the start of this week, I think it was now, quite deflating for West Ham. They'd won 2 in a row before that. But I think Everton are going to get the result here. I think it's a home win. Ipswich versus Forest. You look at that fixture in Nottingham Forest, every single week I'm like, is this the week where they're going to come unstuck? And I think soon I need to make a video about Nuno Espirito Santo because I made the video about Fabian Hürzeler last weekend saying how the moment Brighton lost 7-0 was like the turning point, the defining moment in their season because they turned it around. But it was Nottingham Forest that beat them 7-0 for goodness sake. So Nuno deserves so much credit, but for Ipswich, they've got to start getting wins. It's been such a hard season for them. It's been a hard season for all of the promoted sides. And I think in the Premier League, we're going to see this more often. Your Ipswiches, your Leicesters, your Southamptons this year that have seriously struggled. We're going to see this happen season after season after season. Unless Super Frank's Coventry come up. He's keeping them in the league. Trust me. But anyway, Nottingham Forest are going to win this. I think they're just too good. I think they're too difficult to break down. Where did the goals come from Ipswich? Man City, Brighton. This is a bloody corker, I tell you. Forget the flipping Carabao Cup final. This is a huge game in the race for the Champions League. Man City, the most up and down big side right now in the league. Brighton in sensational form. But I think it's going to finish a draw. We move into Southampton versus Wolves. Southampton are gone. So this is like, I don't know what game, who's this is more important for. Because like, is any game important anymore for Southampton? They're basically down. But you can't just give up, can you? So I guess with Southampton being at home and Wolves being the most likely one that they could chase down if the Great Escape was to happen, Southampton have got a win, but Wolves are going to get an away win here, I'm sure of it. Bournemouth, Brentford, another exciting game. I think there could be goals in this one. I'm going to go with a Bournemouth win. Let's take a little gander, shall we, at Sunday's fixtures, because this is bloody interesting. Arsenal versus Chelsea. Of course, there'll be a full match preview on GBFC. But I don't know who this means more for, really, because Arsenal are obviously so much further ahead of Chelsea. They're not going to win the league now. We know that. Liverpool probably not going to slip up. They could gain some points on them this weekend, but like, It's an inevitability at this point for Liverpool, unless they really do capitulate now. So in that case, obviously it's big for Arsenal. It's a London derby, but for Chelsea, we've got to beat a big side eventually. I just don't think it's going to happen this weekend. I'm sorry. I'm not being negative. I'm being realistic. Fulham versus Spurs. I think Fulham are going to win this game. Tottenham obviously did well the other night, but Fulham I think are going to beat them. And Leicester, Manchester United. I think Man United are going to win that. I think Leicester have just been so poor. Ruud van Nistelrooy against Man United again. It'll get good reception from the away Man United fans, I'm sure. But I think United, that's a good result for them against Sociedad. I didn't speak really about the Europa League games because I was too excited about Thomas Tuchel's England squad announcement. But Man United were excellent against Real Sociedad. Probably the best performance that I've seen since Ruben Amorim took over. So, Liverpool versus Newcastle, the English League Cup final. And we've obviously got Celtic versus Rangers on the same day. Rangers are obviously going to win that one, aren't they? Liverpool-Newcastle. This is huge for both of these two sides. The question I have for you lot in the comments, is it bigger for Liverpool or is it bigger for Newcastle? Newcastle, a lot of people, I consider Newcastle a massive club. I think Newcastle have got amazing fans. Even as coming to Chelsea, right? There's a lot of teams that will come to Chelsea and you might get a bit of trouble if you bump into the away fans outside the bridge or in a pub or somewhere. Newcastle fans always, to me at least, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And they travel in numbers everywhere they go. This is going to be two teams with very vocal support. And Newcastle, if you're a Newcastle fan, are you desperate for a trophy? I think you've got to be, haven't you? Because I consider Newcastle a massive club. Alan Shearer, one of the greatest players to ever play in the Premier League. And Newcastle, I think, deserve something. But more importantly than what I think they deserve, because Sunderland fans will tell you they don't deserve anything. So that's all subjective preference. But I just think with the takeover that we saw at Newcastle, the Saudis came in, there was all this promise of all this money, but then obviously the reality is very different when you've got FFP, you've got PSR. So Newcastle weren't in a position where they had a super valuable squad to be able to make loads of money, to then go and be able to spend loads of money. So it's been very slow. But I think one of the biggest stories here that needs to be discussed is Alexander Isak, because I think the most likely outcome for Isak, if Newcastle aren't in the Champions League next season, is to go to Liverpool. So is this like the audition for Alexander Isak at Liverpool? I know Newcastle fans are going to hate me for saying that, but I don't see Isak staying at Newcastle. Even if they do get Champions League, if I'm really honest, unless there's obviously a big promise for a big summer, if Newcastle are in the Champions League again, maybe it's the time to just go for it in the transfer market. But can they? That's the question. Whereas Liverpool, for Arne Slot, this is a very reminiscent of Mourinho coming in at Chelsea, where the League Cup was like the precursor for then the Premier League. It's a brilliant double in the first season. What a season for Liverpool, by the way. Despite losing to Plymouth in the FA Cup, knocked out by PSG, it could derail them if they lose this cup final, having lost to PSG in the same week, being out of two competitions and only losing to Plymouth a couple of weeks ago. Could it? I don't think it can. I think the gap at the top of the Premier League is too big. But what do I actually think is going to happen here? I've just got a feeling it's Newcastle's time, you know. There's no Anthony Gordon. That is a big miss for Newcastle. I think Newcastle are going to win I think they're going to win 2-1. I've just got a feeling that today or this weekend is Newcastle's weekend. I think that elusive trophy is coming. And there's a lot of talk as well that Eddie Howe could still lose his job, win or lose this trophy. If Newcastle win this trophy and then they manage to get Champions League football, Eddie Howe can't lose his job. That is serious progress. To go into the Champions League, they didn't qualify for this season because being in the Champions League last season took a lot out of them, even though they didn't get out of the group. I think this is such a key moment for Newcastle in their new history with this new Saudi investment, this new Saudi ownership. I think they've got to win this. I really do. And I think they will. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Nothing too crazy for this video today. Just wanted to go through the fixtures for the Premier League and the Carabao Cup for the weekend. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Going to be watching all the football this weekend. Could be a few videos here on GBFC. Or more. No, I did it again. More GBFC. Blimey, I did it in the intro yesterday too. But make sure you subscribe to the channel. Smack a like if you're enjoying these videos. Thanks for all the love and support. We hit 3,000 subscribers yesterday. And I want to make this channel as big as GBFC. It's like a 2 or 3 year goal of mine right now. So be a part of the journey. Subscribe. Thank you for watching. See you guys soon.